I think the major thing, the major change that I've noticed in the years that I've been involved in this, which going right back to the beginning would be about 6 years. So in the case of AI in particular, people are coming to the realization that we're dealing with a technology which is going to be huge in the long run in its impacts on human society. And they're also coming to the realization that challenge of thinking about how we ensure that that's a beneficial change as much as we can is a challenge which requires lots of different perspectives. So we don't have an academic field which is purpose-built for the project at this stage. We need to create that field. And so what we can see now that we couldn't see even, say, 3 years ago is the setting up of institutes and centers like the one here at Beijing, devoted to bringing together people from many different disciplines to think about those challenges. One thing I should say is that I need to emphasize this a lot in conversations about these things, is that I come from the field from the outside. I'm a philosopher. In my own philosophy, I don't specialize in ethics or ethics of technology, and very little of my professional philosophy work connects directly with these topics. So I'm a kind of outsider, and my role in this field is as a kind of enabler, helping to bring together people. So my own sense of what the important issues are is a very imperfect one. What I could do is to tell you some of the questions that people are working on in our centre in Cambridge, with our links to Imperial College in London and to Oxford and to Berkeley. Some of the most active projects within our centre, that we have a program called Kinds of Intelligence, which brings together people from philosophy and cognitive science and psychology and neuroscience and machine learning and artificial intelligence to try to get a better sense of what intelligence is. I mean, it's pretty clear that thinking of intelligence as just one capacity is mistaken. There are many different sorts of dimensions to intelligence, but getting a better sense of that landscape and understanding how we can tell what the potential is for artificial intelligence to explore parts of that landscape that we ourselves don't explore. That's a huge project, and it's a project that requires all those different sorts of perspectives. So that's one of the groups which is very active within our own centre, and one that I, as a philosopher, find particularly fascinating and illuminating, not because I'm an expert in those fields, but because I'm close enough to understand the fascinations of the issues they're looking at. Again, I want to speak not as a sort of philosophical expert, but as an enabler. I think one of the respects in which our own centre in Cambridge differs from some of the new centres that have grown up is that from the beginning, we've had what we called an engineering perspective on the task of creating the kind of multidisciplinary community that we need. I think other institutes just tended to do the normal thing. They think, oh, here are some interesting questions. We'll set up an institute to study these questions. Of course, we were interested in doing that, but we were also interested in doing something which is one step back from that. We could see that there was this challenge of creating this community, so we were interested in thinking about what are the most effective ways of creating that community. And I think it's still true that CFI, our centre, has that sort of meta-engineering perspective to a greater extent than any of the other centres. And of course, we've been aware from the beginning the one absolutely central part of that engineering project had to be the project of ensuring that this community was a community that represented a plurality of cultural perspectives. Because it was clear that the challenges of AI were going to be global challenges. Much of the technology was going to come not from the Anglophone West, not from people like me, white males, but from very, very different people, and a lot of it here in China, of course. So this community that we were trying to engineer, we had to find ways of ensuring that it was a community which represented these many voices. So I think as kind of academic engineers, as I call it before, I think that we have, I mean, of course, there are many other groups who are also trying to build these conversations. But I think linked to the project of academic engineering, and I don't mean to sound immodest about CFI at this point, but I think we have a clearer sense of what needs to be done than the other groups.